Okay, Hendrick the Kaiser, 1565, 1621. So he is considered the builder of Amsterdam. I think the words are a little bit inflated. He built some buildings in Amsterdam, and they are still to be seen and used even. So, you know, 500, no, 450, 56 years later, they are still part of the urban fabric of Amsterdam. As I mentioned, so he was born on 1565. Michelangelo, the great Renaissance artist and architect, and many other things, died in 1564. So we could consider Hendrik the Kaiser kind of a Renaissance architect and builder, because the Renaissance arrived a little bit later in the northern part of Europe. So Hendrik the Kaiser was a Dutch sculptor, merchant in Belgium, bluestone. So he was a merchant as well. And the architect who was instrumental in establishing a late Renaissance form of mannerism, changing into Baroque. Most of his works appeared in Amsterdam, some elsewhere in the Dutch Republic. He was the father of Peter and Thomas the Kaiser and Wilhelm, and the uncle of Hubert the Kaiser, who became his apprentices, and all involved in building, decoration, and architecture. Well, this triad today, it seems, is not with us any longer. Maybe, yes, building and the architecture, but decoration was totally removed from the language of architecture, at least in some parts of the world, but is coming back with great strength. And in fact, talking about Gottfried Semper, we will also talk inevitably about ornament, and we'll also talk about weaving. And we'll see that actually these are very recent preoccupations in some very important architecture schools in the world and architecture practices. This was the man, you know, from the profile. He could have lived longer, but anyway, people lived shorter lives then. Rembrandt died at 63, Rubens at 63. I'm not even mentioning Vincent van Gogh, who died at 37. Anyway, so this was the man, Henry the Kaiser. In an engraving, you see he is using the architect's instrument, but not any longer used since the arrival of digital culture. Now, a first building. Well, no, it's not a building actually. Is a gate from 1603 in Amsterdam. That it says the decoration on the top was not by him. Hendrik the Kaiser, HDK, and dates from 1663. It's this. I don't know. It's the entrance into some kind of a passage. What can we say? It's amazing that it made it to our days. Yes, you know, 400, more than 450 years ago, it was built. This one in Amsterdam, also from 1606, it's a tower. He built several such towers, and they are very slender and you know, rather impressive, considering when they were built. And you know, these slender towers are a distinct feature in the Dutch landscape. I think he built this one also. Yeah, I think it is by him, but we'll see that other towers of a similar silhouette were built around that time in Amsterdam. You know, perhaps that Amsterdam is in some kind of a competition with Rotterdam. Rotterdam is the new city. Amsterdam is the old city. Rotterdam could have had old parts as well, but it was heavily bombed by the angels of the Second World War. And but you will also see, in fact, we'll end the presentation on him with a work, a sculpture actually, that is in Rotterdam, inevitably almost Erasmus of Rotterdam. So this is by H.D.H. Hendrick the Kaiser, the architect, the builder from Amsterdam. And here you see, some towers. They didn't build as high as we do, but this kind of graphic work reminds me of similar comparisons that are done today between various tall towers. Which one is the tallest? They can be easily seen on the web. These are more ornate than ours. Ours are very, very tall indeed. At that time, I'm sure people couldn't have conceived that such tall buildings could be built. But in terms of quality, are ours superior? I don't know. And yes, the ornamental side of them is something that contributes to the to the aesthetics. They had since then a great talent to work with brick, and in Amsterdam, brick is king, or should I say queen. It was used beautifully by the School of Amsterdam, which of course was based in Amsterdam. Anyway, 1606, 1611, again, this church, kind of unusual. You'll see it in Amsterdam. Not so unusual, perhaps. Here I'm wrong. I thought it was we'll arrive at it, a different church, which looks a little bit problematic, so to speak, as being a church. This one is maybe not so, although it could have been the spire is too tall and too emphatic. Otherwise, it could have been a city hall. The Dutch also have great cathedrals, but this work that I see here in Amsterdam is, it's a church, but maybe it could have been something else. Like the tower that we saw before, that one had no sacred function. This one could have been the spire of a city hall as well. But it's a church. I think look at the facade, this is an urban facade. I don't know where the entrance into the church is actually, but I think that the Dutch are more relaxed vis-a-vis religion than at least we are. This is a work which was completed by his son, Peter. It's a grave. It's a tombstone. It's a grave for this Wilhelm van Orange. I guess an important king or something of the Netherlands in Delft. And you see the future. I don't want to sound morbid, but that is the future. At best, we will one day lay under a stone. What can we do? We agitate ourselves, and one day it will all end. Although some people think, and some scriptures say that it will not end. Who knows? I had a neighbor in my hometown who amused me by saying, it must be great in the afterlife, since I know of no one who returned from there or who came back from there. Anyway, he was also a sculptor. So, he did all kinds of works, and this was very common at that time. It's not so common now, unfortunately. The artists are kind of banished from the field of architecture, although I think architecture will gain a lot if the artist would be welcomed back and allowed to manifest their talent and their skill in architecture as well. Okay, this is a city hall in Delft, 1618, 1620. So, 400 years ago was built. This is an engraving, and you'll see both facades, the one on the left that you see here and the main one towards the square. This was, I guess, an engraving done afterwards at some point. It's actually not shown here, the tower that is quite powerful, as you can see it here. So this is the side elevation, actually, and the entrance is on the other side, around the corner. We are going to see it as well. It's preserved quite well, although I understood it suffered damages and it was restored to its Renaissance state, so to speak. This is the main facade. And yes, it's a 400 years old building. And it does look a little bit old because of the darkness of the stone. I guess the Dutch were more wise than the French, who tried to clean up Notre Dame so much that it looks almost inauthentic. I'm talking about the famous cathedral in Paris. Anyway, so this is the city hall in Delft by H.D.H. Hendrick the Kaiser. And as I said, he was born today on May 15th, but more than 400 years earlier. It must be nice for a city to have a city hall that is so old. And this is a picture from 1900s of the same building. Less cars, but we see two carriages there. And anyway, I guess Delft was not bombed as Rotterdam was. Good for it. I see they used oblongs also for for a city hall. I didn't know this was done. Usually oblongs were used for for houses or dwellings, but to do it for a city hall is kind of interesting. And I'm a great admirer of oblongs. I think they can be used in the present quite well, and they offer these oblongs, I think, are functional and aesthetically could be also interesting. They can be designed in creative ways. I have seen also oblongs inside the rooms. So, but they introduce a feature, an architectural feature, which could be beneficial aesthetically as well. And of course, it functions well to protect against noise or against excessive light, or even against excessive, curiosity from. It protects. It protects in various ways, and that's something to appreciate. Okay, now another church from 1620, 1623. Where he worked with a city mason. It's remarkable now to read the name of a builder besides the name of the architect. This one, you wonder, is it a church? But maybe not. It's strange a little bit, this low front elevation, with just one floor and small windows, and then behind it is it's kind of unusual. I didn't see often something like this, but it is a church, and more than 400, around 400 years ago built. Now, what is unusual is because, here you have the profane and you have the sacred, and the profane is advancing towards the street more than the sacred. And so in the tension between the profane and the sacred, in this case, the profane is asserting itself with a certain audacity, so to speak. Anyway, I mean, I even wonder, is the entrance into the building through this door here? It seems like it, but it's strange. Anyway, maybe the entrance is from the side. I don't know, but I saw most pictures show the building from here and not from here, which maybe the entrance is here. I'm a little bit confused, but anyway. Not to speak about these, red, I mean, reddish red doors, really the Dutch are they are not inhibited at all. And, I like in fact, the lack of inhibition. Now, another church, which was completed by his son. Yeah, this one is a little more explicitly a church. And what can we say? Churches, of course. Wilhelm the Kaiser, the builder of Amsterdam, born today on the 15th of May. Now, the statue of Erasmus, and with this I end this short presentation of this architect and builder. It was started by him and completed by his son. And here we have the chance again to see an eloquent plea for learning. And it's no accident that that program, that functioned actually quite well in Europe, and even a little bit beyond the limits of Europe. The Erasmus program has its name from this man, from Erasmus of Rotterdam. And that big book, he must have been a strong man if he was able to hold such a book with one hand even. But it is an eloquent sculpture which shows the importance of learning, of education. I'm sure he would not have anticipated that one day we will have, a digital book at the disposal of anyone in the world, where you just with a click you can access, in fact, so many books for free. And so this culture came down to us from 4 centuries ago. It survived all kinds of calamities, natural and otherwise. And people idealized the sculpture, like in this engraving, the eloquence, the power of study. And I think, despite the fact that we have digital technologies, the eloquence of the book is still to be, received and warmly, because indeed I do believe that what Erasmus said is true. Education is the most important thing for a nation. And I'll end this presentation with a few quotations from Erasmus of Rotterdam. For example, he said, that portrait is by Hans Holbein, a famous portrait of Erasmus. Read first the best books. The important thing for you is not how much you know, but the quality of what you know. I totally agree. And this is why I advocate the cause of what we discuss on these presentations. We discuss the works of some of the best architects in the world in history and in the present. And if you are to learn architecture, I think you learn best from them. In as much as if you are to learn, read the best books first. Don't lose your time reading all kinds of nonsensical writings, because there are so many published, so many books. But if you lose your time reading those, you won't have time to read the good ones. So he's totally right. It doesn't matter how many books you read. It matters the quality of what you read, the quality of what you know. Knowledge is about quality, it's not about quantity, it's not about facts, actually. Knowing how tall Mount Everest is and how deep the ocean is, this is not knowledge. This is just information. This is factual information which can be stored in a computer, and you don't have to, memorize this data. But unfortunately, many people think that knowledge is the accumulation of facts, of data, of numbers, of everything that is measurable. No, knowledge is about education, about quality, and education is the same. The main hope of a nation lies in the proper education of its youth. I totally agree. It is immensely important, education. If you educate well, a nation prospers, a nation does well because its population is well educated. If the education is not good, there is very little chance that nation could indeed develop. This is something that the Chinese understood. They had remarkable results in education, and it shows. The economy is also growing with an unbelievable speed. They are very well educated. They work very hard, and their schools are excellent. Fortunes, and this is, I think, the last slide of this presentation. Fortunes favors the audacious. Indeed. We say of some people that they were lucky. Well, yes, maybe they were lucky, but they also made that luck possible through their audaciousness. If you have courage, sometimes you might fail, but if you don't have courage and if you don't take risks, you fail for sure. So yes, fortune favors the audacious. So thank you, Erasmus, and thank you, Hendrick, the Kaiser.